Yes, we have arrived. It is Wednesday evening. My day didn't really go as planned. It wasn't a terrible day, but I ended up, just having to deal with some things, and I just got a little sidetracked. But it was important. It was important. I had a couple of important conversations that I needed to have, and I'm feeling pretty good about getting a new apartment. That's I still got till the end of July, and I'm looking for a temp spot. So a lot of the times, like you just got to be closer to your day out to get stuff. Hey yo, but the people who scam on Facebook Marketplace are hilarious because they're so bad at it. Oh, we got Fritza, Queen Fritza. Hello, how you doing? You know what this tank top is an indication of. You know what's going on. You know where I need to go. You know what I need to do. But yeah, like I was saying, people who do scams on Facebook Marketplace, it's always hilarious because like again, they're so bad at it. It can be because typically you pay an application fee after you've seen the place. But like what they'll do is as soon as you get on the phone with them or text them, they like you paying Cash App or Apple Pay? Like, bro, I'm not finna send you no money. I ain't even checked the place out. And then like sometimes like you'll hit up places and then three or four of the locations will send you the exact same text message, like, oh, y'all scamming. Y'all scamming. What's going on, Trent? How you doing? How you doing this evening? Hope you had a good one. But yeah, it's always so hilarious. Be like, give me some money. Like, damn, bruh, I ain't even I ain't even checked the place out. I don't even know what's going on. But we got a couple of things to go over. We got a couple of things to discuss. So first, as I'm sure that you saw, let's see, Merrick Garland was held in, well, the House voted to hold Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress. So let's check that out. Whenever it loads up. There we go. House votes to hold AG Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress. The House on Wednesday voted to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress for refusing to turn over audio of President Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur. The vote is the culmination of months of digging by House Republicans to try to bring into public view as much material from the special counsel interview as possible. The 216 to 207 vote is unlikely to result in Garland facing prosecution, but Republicans hope it will strengthen their subpoena for the audio files. Oh, we got Mara. How you doing, Mara? What's going on? How you doing this evening? we got a late stream today, but we still going. We still going. Damn, it's a 107 in Arizona. Sheesh, man. Even though it's dry heat, that's still hot, and they talking about that heat wave that's going on. Man, yeah, it's crazy out here. Definitely got to be looking out for people who don't have shelter. Okay, so we got uh Representative Dave Joyce from Ohio, who's a Republican, was the lone GOP no vote. Joyce said in a statement, I cannot in good conscience support a resolution that will further politicize our judicial system to score political points. She was the only person. Well, I guess you got to give her some credit for that. I guess you got to sprinkle a little bit of credit to it for that. Garland said in a statement shortly after the vote, it is deeply disappointing that this House of Representatives has turned a serious congressional authority into a partisan weapon. He added that today's vote disregards the constitutional separation of powers, the Justice Department's need to protect its investigations, and the substantial amount of information we have provided to the congressional committees. Hur said in his report in February that Biden suffered repeated memory lapses in his interview, leading prosecutors to believe the president would come across to a jury as a sympathetic, well meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Republicans quickly jumped on the revelation to try to dredge up as many details as possible. Well, hey, we got Mike Boy in the building. What's going on? Monk without a cause. What's going on? But yeah, so Merrick Garland House voted to hold him in contempt of Congress again. And there probably ain't much of nothing gonna happen with this. But um, you know, Hunter Biden got found guilty the other day, but other than Republicans, I mean, that's just not an issue that people are really bothered about, mostly because Hunter Biden is not a politician. It's really of no consequence to people, you know. So now let's move on over to Oklahoma because I'm sure that maybe y'all have seen this. Because again, we're doing a late stream today. So Oklahoma Supreme Court dismisses lawsuit of last Tulsa race massacre survivors seeking reparations because they could. I mean, there's really no other reason than that because they could. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, well, they didn't live their lives anyway, and ain't nothing really gonna happen. So they said no. And the Tulsa massacre is one of the more well known and famous infamous incidents of violence that happened in this country in relatively modern times. They was doing well, and neighboring racists were like, "Nah, we can't have this shit. Fuck this," and they just went and burned it down. You say you can cook cookies on my dash. Shit, I bet you can fry eggs on the pavement out there or something. The Oklahoma Supreme Court on Wednesday dismissed a lawsuit by survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, dampening the hope of advocates for racial justice that the city would make financial amends for one of the worst single acts of violence against Black people in U.S. history that left as many as 300 people dead in a once thriving district in smoldering ruins. That's a lot of people, bro. Like 300 people to, I mean, like, especially to die in that manner because murders happen, and it's always, when people get murdered, that's always a tragedy to somebody, at least. And typically it's not necessary for things to go that far, but uh 300 people dying, that's a lot of people. So uh and again, this isn't really this is I think now, because we live in a time where we have so much connectivity with social media and just the internet, more and more younger generations are, including, my generation, like we have access to this type of information more. But this, like Emmett Till is something that like everybody knows about. But up until relatively recently, the Tulsa massacre wasn't like a broadly discussed event. But yeah, it's just because they black. That's why they was like, nah, we don't really have to do this, so we won't. The nine-member court upheld the decision made by the district court judge in Tulsa last year, ruling that the plaintiff's grievances about the destruction of the Greenwood district, although legitimate, did not fall within the scope of the state's public nuisance statute. Nah, 300 people being massacred and a whole town and economy being decimated. That doesn't fall under the statute. Yeah, that I get, that's not tragic enough, I guess. Plaintiffs do not point to any physical injury to property in Greenwood, rendering it uninhabitable that could be resolved by way of injunction or other civil remedy, the court wrote in its decision. Today, we hold that relief is not possible under any set of facts that could be established consistent with plaintiff's allegations. What? Again, how I be like, what does that even mean? They say it's quote, plaintiffs do not point to any physical injury to property in Greenwood, rendering it uninhabitable that could be resolved by way of injunction or other civil remedy. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Again, I don't. If that doesn't qualify, then I don't really know what does. You feel me? Like, but hey, again, at the end of the day, it's just because they're black and older and don't really have the power to do anything about it. That's what this is. The city said in a statement that it, quote, respects the court's decision and affirms the significance of the work the city continues to do in the North Tulsa and Greenwood communities, adding that it remains committed to working with residents and providing resources to support the communities. The suit was an attempt to force the city of Tulsa and others to make uh why can't I say this word right now? To make recompense for the destruction of the once thriving black district by a white mob in 1921 on May 31st and June 1st. The white mob, including some people hastily deputized by authorities, looted and burned the district, which was referred to as Black Wall Street. Mm-mm. But yeah, it's just I mean, there's always a way to interpret the law. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, you know, that's why culture matters. That's why corruption is such a big deal because at the end of the day, people choose to follow the law or people choose to do what's right. I think that's really more what's important. What's either obviously right or wrong. Not everybody conceptualizes right and wrong the same way all the time in every circumstance, but still, you know, that there's all if there's corruption involved, if the culture is, against a minority group, then there's always a way to say, oh, well, you know what, we don't really have to give a damn. We don't really have to care. Aaron, what's going on? How you doing tonight? Good to have you here. We on late, but we on. The two survivors of the attack, and again, there's only two of them left. They're both over 100. Like if you make it up to 90, then I mean that's pretty impressive. But once you get up there, you can be relatively healthy and pass at any time. Like you never really know. But especially you cross that 100 mark, every day is more and more of a blessing. But it's only two of them left, and they was like, "Nah, we can't even say, like you can't even do anything in good faith or for good symbolism." You know what I'm saying? Like you can't like like this would just be good symbolism and good faith, but we can't have that on the record because they just don't want to acknowledge it. Obviously, I mean, I don't really see any other reason than just not wanting really to acknowledge what happened and just kind of, oh well, we'll just chuck it up to those days. Stuff like that happens. But people are still alive who went through that. My grandfather, I mean, he's dead now, but he was born in 1916. This happened in 1921. You know, the court also determined the plaintiff's allegations did not sufficiently support a claim for unjust enrichment, which it said are typically limited to contractual relationships. Other defendants in the case included the Tulsa Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Board of Tulsa County Commissioners, the Tulsa County Sheriff, and the Oklahoma Military Department. The lawsuit was brought under Oklahoma's public nuisance law, arguing that the actions of the white mob continue to affect the city today and contended that Tulsa's long history of racial division and tension stemmed from the massacre. The city and insurance companies never compensated victims for their losses, and the massacre ultimately resulted in racial and economic disparities that still exist today. The law, well, they just kind of said that again. Public nuisance claims are typically used to address local concerns like blighted homes, illegal drug dealing, and dangerous animals. Such claims were used in lawsuits that states brought against tobacco companies in the 90s and against opioid drug makers, but many of those led to settlements rather than trials. I was like, no, we ain't gonna take this to trial because people gonna keep on consuming. We don't want to tell people that this is bad for them. I remember those commercials, those truth commercials. I remember that in the 90s and like the late 90s and in the early 2000s, and they would have like these demonstrations of people like lying on the ground and stuff, all types of demonstrations, and then it would be like truth. Those are pretty good commercials. Those were high quality commercials. Okay, so we got a couple of GOP congressmen who wasn't really quite feeling Hunter Biden being found guilty for the gun stuff. Millions of marijuana users own guns, and none of them should be in jail. Let's see what they're talking about. Following Hunter Biden's Tuesday conviction on three felony gun charges related to buying a firearm while using crack cocaine, two Republican congressmen are challenging the conviction, one for reasons having to do with cannabis. Quote, Hunter might deserve to be in jail for something, but purchasing a gun is not it. This is Thomas Massey. Oh, um, there are millions of marijuana users who own guns in this country, and none of them should be in jail for purchasing or possessing a firearm against current laws. When it comes to the guns, he like, oh, maybe not. But other than that, nah, let's keep it up. A longtime advocate for gun rights for cannabis consumers. Well, at least there's that shit. I guess that's the libertarian in him because I'm pretty sure Thomas Massey's a libertarian. Massey made it clear he was not defending President Biden's son generally, only his ability to buy firearms. Massey, who has criticized his party for not addressing marijuana reform, co sponsored a cannabis reform bill in January of 2023 that would have allowed medical marijuana patients to buy and possess firearms. Well, can't say I don't disagree with him. I can't say I disagree with him there. But yeah, when it's like he trips on most things, but when it comes to the guns, he's like, okay, I'll go ahead and protect him here. But yeah, okay, yeah, thank you, Fritz. I'm pretty sure that's what I had remembered, that he is in fact a libertarian. Okay, let's see what's up. We got the Trump bootlickers. What they talking about? You're a piece of garbage. Republican Congressman savages Paul Ryan for anti-Trump comments on Fox News. Rep. Troy Nels melted down over comments Fox Corps board member and former speaker Paul Ryan made on Fox News on Tuesday. Ryan lamented that Donald Trump is once again the Republican presidential nominee. He said, quote, I voted for him in 2016, hoping that there was going to be a different kind of person in office. And I do think character is a really important issue. If you put yourself above the Constitution as he has done, that shows you're unfit for office. But what happened? Host Neil Cavuto asked. What turned you? Was it the whole January 6th thing? That's part of it, Ryan replied before reiterating that Trump placed himself above the Constitution. He also made clear he does not support President Joe Biden. Nels, an outspoken member of Congress, offered his unvarnished reaction to CNN's Manu Raju later in the evening. Oh, Dan is trying to go over here. Let me see. It went over the head, but I think it's just a clip of Paul Ryan saying what we just read. He said, quote, Paul Ryan, you're a piece of garbage. I don't know how he talks, so I don't know how to, quite imitate him. I don't know if to give him, you're a piece of garbage. I don't know if he talks like that or if he's just like, yeah, I don't know. Paul Ryan, you're a piece of garbage. You're a piece of garbage, and we should kick you out of the party, the lawmaker said, according to a tweet from Raju. Don't go spouting your mouth off and saying that you're a conservative. You're spitting in the face of the leader of our party. I mean, grow up a little bit. Oh, how ironic is that you tell him to grow up because he says that he isn't, basically because he's making his own decision. That's essentially what it is. He needs to grow up because he's making decisions for himself. So apparently adults don't make their own decisions because of course MAGA's a cult. Don't call yourself a conservative because you're not 100% behind Donald Trump because Trump is, so conservative. He's so fiscally responsible and he's so just, he's all about freedom and people's rights and all of that stuff. He's not a rich corporatist who's been ripping people off his whole life. That's not who he is. Okay, what we got here? Hold on. Leading evangelical convention votes to condemn the use of in vitro fertilization. What does that mean? We're about to find out. Hold up. Fox News panel sounds alarm. Okay, I actually think, yeah, I got that pulled up over here. Okay, let's see. What is this? God doesn't want women to have autonomy over their own bodies. That's never what God intended. Of course. Well, okay, so let's see. Evangelicals attending the Southern Baptist Convention voted on Wednesday to oppose in vitro fertilization. I mean, it's just it's like what it's just like mean. It's just cruel, because some people struggle to get pregnant the natural way or to bring babies to full term the natural way. Like No, we don't want people doing this because it's evil. Like, it's just so stupid. But unfortunately, their efforts have paid off in a lot of ways. They have, and they've been adamant about it for years and years and years and years, and it paid off for them. New York Times journalist Ruth Graham first reported the news from the convention in Indianapolis. More than 10,000 evangelical messengers are attending the convention, and the vote was the first time the convention touched on the subject of in vitro fertilization. The resolution presented to the group likened IVF to abortion, which the group opposes, referring to protecting life, including those in an embryonic state. Okay, let's read further because this doesn't make any sense. Because this is about bringing babies into the world in vitro fertilization. Like that's what it's about. Unless I'm mistaken, unless I'm tripping, that's like the whole point of it. So, but let's see. The resolution was to reaffirm the unconditional value and right to life of every human being, including those in an embryonic stage, and to only utilize reproductive technologies consistent with that affirmation, especially in the number of embryos generated in the IVF process. The leading evangelical group, which sports well over 10 million members, raised concerns. Damn, that's a lot of people. Raised concerns last month in a letter to the U.S. Senate, claiming in vitro fertilization treatments are harmful and called for people to be more aware of the moral concerns around the treatment. IVF has become a hotly debated topic, especially in light of the Alabama Supreme Court ruling that frozen embryos are unborn children, massively complicating IVF treatments in the state. What is this for? Like, okay, I think I see their angle now, but still, it's like it's just such a it's just a goofy thing to be on the forefront of your political resource, to be on the forefront of your political effort. Like not things like you know, homelessness or even jobs, like, because those are things that, jobs, wages, those are things that most people care about. Like, so again, it's just like, it's goofy that this is on the forefront of your concern. Like, it's just like, oh, like these unborn babies, they're just not like, and that holds more weight in your mind than like anything else. It's ridiculous. I mean, think about how many people live in cities or locations where the water is just not good to drink, where like it stinks, the water stinks, and you can just it just fucks your body up. And then it's like, no, that is less important than it's just so stupid. Right, exactly. They're gonna even the evangelicals gonna show up for him regardless because they're a bunch of because they're I mean they're extremists for the most part. I mean that especially the very very politically active ones. Like it's extremism. So IVF has become a hotly debated topic, especially in light of the Alabama Supreme Court ruling that frozen embryos are unborn children, massively. I think I just read that. The issue has split conservatives. Presumptive Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump said he opposed the state's court ruling.
We want to make it easier for mothers and fathers to have babies, not harder. That includes supporting the availability of fertility treatments like IVF in every state in America, like the overwhelming majority of Americans, including the vast majority of Republicans, conservatives, Christians, and pro life Americans. I strongly support the availability of IVF for couples who are trying to have a precious baby.
Which is a rather, reasonable take. Yeah, again, it's a reasonable take because it's like it's so unnecessary to go after. Again, if like the whole crux and premise of your pro-life stance is to encourage families, encourage the creation of families, to encourage people to have children and families to stay together, to water and stimulate the nuclear family structure. then IVF is literally like that's a way for it to happen. Because again, a lot of people have issues with pregnancy for so many reasons. But again, that group, like we just read, that group has over 10 million members. So it's a lot of people out here who think that way, and they're very politically active, which is why many of the things that have happened have happened. All right. What we got going on right now? Okay, we got Kevin Spacey. You know what I'm saying? We got Kevin Spacey. He he feels that he deserves another chance. He thinks, he's been canceled. I think it was, who was it? It was Chris Cuomo who interviewed him, and he basically was like, I just want another shot, and I think that I'm a victim of cancel culture. He said some along those lines. At the end of the day, you know, one, Kevin, he made a lot of money. I'm sure I'm sure this is true. I'm sure he's lost a lot of it, but still, like, you can't force people to consume your content. You know what I mean? Like, the whole reason that Kevin Spacey was as successful as he was is because, yes, exactly, Kevin no personal Spacey. That's perfect. Kevin no personal Spacey. But yeah, like the whole entire reason that Kevin Spacey was as successful as he was is because the public put him there. Like it's like, you're an entertainer. You're not somebody who society relies on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not in a position of like, oh boy, we got to have him there, because if he's not there, things are just going to go awry. No, you're an entertainer. And exactly, he's not canceled, but he says that he is. Yeah, no, you're just facing the consequences of your actions. And perhaps if you weren't so no spacey and handsy, you wouldn't be in this position. Like, you just wouldn't be. All right, hold on, let's see.
There was a frenzy
Jeez, yeah, we're definitely not watching all of this.
in Hollywood, and suddenly you're facing a trial where someone may take your liberty away for years. And how does that feel?
My goal is now to prove that I'm a man of good character.
How supportive was your co-star?
I haven't heard from Robin.
She stabbed you in the back.
No, I will not let you get away with that.
But you're Kevin Spacey, powerful.
Yeah, nah, man, I don't. And again, obviously, we're not gonna sit here and watch this, but it's just like, especially what he just said too. Like, he was like, "No, she stabbed me in the back." Like, nah, bro, people have a pretty good reason to not be associated with you, especially when it comes, like, it's just, I can't imagine that this interview really helped him at all. It seems like this is going to be an interview full of him being a victim and acting like everybody's tripping. You know what I'm saying? Because again, it's like, dude, like, your value to the world is not a commodity. People don't need what you have to offer. They like what you have to offer. And you fuck that up.
Man, a famous man, a double Oscar winner, is using all that.
Again, like, bruh, like, you won 2 Oscars. You feel me? Like, you were incredibly successful. And you just had that thing going on. You had your issues. And you couldn't control yourself, and now it is what it is. Right, of course it's peers.
To seduce someone. You accept that?
I can understand that perspective. Pushing the boundaries.
I can understand that perspective. I just I'm sorry you feel that way. That's one of them things. I'm not really sorry for what I did. I'm sorry that you feel bad about what I did. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I mean, again, we're not. We have played this for 30 seconds, and you already know exactly how this whole thing is going to go.
Being too handsy.
Some people would say that is criminal. Prince Andrew scandal. Famously, it was reported that you and Ghislaine Maxwell were invited to the throne room
This Maxwell woman, I have no relationship with her. I had no relationship with him. Do you know who I never asked for anything? Was Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't want to be around this guy.
There were young girls on those flights.
There were young girls on those flights, yeah.
You think you would have taken your life?
I can't pay the bills that I owe.
How much money?
And again, like the thing is like, you know, you're an Oscar winning actor, so like you can fake cry and shit. You feel me? Like you can do that if you'd like. I can't pay my bills. A lot of people can't pay their bills, brother. And again, the difference between, you know, most people struggling to pay their bills and you is that you made it to the top of the mountain in ways that most people just never will. And you ruined it. You feel, you know what I mean? Like it's how can people, why should anyone sit here and feel sorry that you got to go get a regular job? You know what I'm saying? Like you just sell whatever it is you got to sell, invest the rest in the stock market or whatever. But like, dude, come on, man.
You have?
None.
I don't think I'm getting the full story there, Kevin.
That's because you have your newspaper hat on.
Well, I've got my new YouTube hat on.
You do that.
Yeah. Kevin, I guess my first question, how are you?
I'm all right. Thank you for asking. It's been a very...
He seems so disingenuous. He seems so disingenuous. Hey, we not gonna watch this whole thing. We might end up watching a little bit of it because let's just roll it.
Interesting and I think an important couple of weeks where I've had an opportunity to start to be able to talk about things that, well, for me, in some cases, I've never talked about before, and to take accountability for those places where I have behaved badly, and to hopefully put some facts out there that maybe a great majority of the public don't know about.
When were you last in a TV studio
You
like
got Mike Nice in the building. What's going on? How you doing today?
this?
Or this evening, rather.
I don't remember, but it's certainly, I think, the first time I've been in a TV studio since 2017.
That's amazing. I mean, at the time, you were one of the biggest TV stars in the world. And yet this is 7 years later.
Yeah, and
First time.
And again, like it's like you were one of the biggest actors in the world because the public put you there. The public let you be there. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't really do that again. I mean, even if even if Kevin Spacey never would have went through all of this scandal, no one's gonna stay at the top of the mountain forever. You're just not. You know, like so. Regardless, you can't go back there to that place, especially not now.
I'm a little disappointed it's not bigger than this, but it's fine that, you know.
But does it feel strange? I mean, you're suited and booted again, which, you know, you probably haven't been in a studio like this, dressed like this for that length of time. How does it feel?
I suppose the biggest sort of difference that I can feel in myself is that I spent so many years not wanting to talk about myself and avoiding questions about my personal life and my sexuality. And now it's just a very interesting experience that I'm the subject in many of these conversations. I've been fortunate. There's also been conversations about the work that I've done and the work that I hope to do. But it's just been unusual for me to find myself in a place where I am okay with having conversations about things that for a very long time I was so determined and kept people away that I kind of feel like now I have nothing to hide.
You know, apparently he went through a lot of abuse growing up, but still, it's like you know, while it is true that he grew up in a time where being openly gay was just not as easy as it is today, and again, being openly gay today still has its challenges, but not like it did. You know, we've absolutely made progress. We're still fighting against the counterculture, but we've made a lot of progress. But again, it's like that doesn't excuse you. Like I gotta take it from you. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta. That doesn't excuse that. So, and as far as I've heard, I haven't really heard him genuinely apologize.
hide, and I want to live a more open
Right.
life than the one that I did for a long
How
time.
close to being broken have you been by the experience of the last 7 years?
There's been a couple of times when it was very dark and when I was at my lowest.
What was the lowest moment for you?
I think probably a few days after this all began, which was in late October.
Well, I can
of
tell you exactly when it
2017.
was, because I happened to be with you by pure chance on October the 27th, 2017, at the BAFTA Britannia Awards in Los Angeles,
For Dick Van Dyke.
hosted by Jack Whitehall,
Yeah.
an English guy, obviously. And I was in the audience, and you came out to present Dick Van Dyke with an Excellence in Television Award.
Yeah.
Dick in his 90s, obviously.
Yeah.
And you said this, and I only know this because I wrote it in my diary, which was published in the Daily Mail at the time. And you said Dick's mother conceived him out of wedlock, which was scandalous in 1925. Somehow, in over 90 years, that's the only scandal Dick's ever been involved in, even passively. And I then added, if the current lurid rumours swirling around Mr. Spacey are true, then very soon the same may not be said of him. And I don't know what those rumours were that I was talking about, but that's what I wrote contemporaneously.
Wow.
And 6 hours after you presented that award to Dick Van Dyke, your world basically caved in with an email informing you
Yes, sir. It's Kevin Spacey begging the public to make him the biggest TV star in the world again.
that this man, Anthony Rapp, was making allegations that you had made sexual advances to him when he was just 14, more than 30 years before.
Yeah.
And on the Monday, everything blew up.
Yes.
So your world literally turned upside down within hours of me last seeing you.
You're very close, but it was actually, that was on a Friday night,
Yeah.
and the article didn't
And
come
then,
out.
you know, like it's just these appearances that he's making really don't help his case. I think one of the weirdest things I've seen was like directly after this stuff went down. And you remember when he was like playing his character from House of Cards, and he was like, "I know you want me back." Like, dude, what? Like, I don't know. Like, he just, I don't. He's just off. Something about him is just strange. Like, but in not a good way.
Until Sunday morning. We didn't
Right.
find out until Sunday.
So it's more like 36 hours.
In fact, I can tell you what happened in between Friday night and Sunday was that on Saturday afternoon, Ridley Scott showed me the final cut of All the Money in the World,
Really?
which was the first
Hold
time
on one second. I'm
I
about
saw
to go
it.
plug this thing in. Okay.
And
Which you were then later removed from.
I was later removed from, but I was incredibly proud of it. I think Ridley made an extraordinary movie, and I'm obviously very sorry he made the decision he made. But, you know, hey, Chris Plummer is a wonderful actor. He was a friend of mine. But I'm hoping that maybe someday our version of the movie might be able to be seen.
I mean, that was kind of symbolic. You pretty much got airbrushed by Hollywood. They ran for the hills. You were persona non grata. You rushed out a statement at the time.
To seek understanding and not judgment. My best friend in the to punish me, I went into rehab. I immediately, I didn't know if I was going to survive, and I just needed to go take.
Okay, here we go. Now
Emphatically.
he's talking about being
You
canceled.
also won the criminal case. You were found again not guilty. You know, when you mention Kevin Spacey's name, if they haven't seen any of the recent interviews you've done, you could be forgiven from a lot of the coverage about you in thinking that you must have been convicted. You know, you're not working. Your acting career has been frozen for 7 years. And yet you were found not guilty in a criminal court, and you were found
But the public court found you guilty.
not guilty in a civil court as well. Why have you been so emphatically cancelled, do you think?
There are no adults in the room.
Yo, he is not helping himself at all. Like, dude, like did you what? There's no adults in the room.
To some degree.
Cancelled, do you think? Why have you been so emphatically cancelled, do you think?
there are no adults in the room to some degree. I mean, look, I'm grateful to you and people like you who have, I'm not going to say you've supported me, but you definitely have supported the idea that has surrounded me of I wasn't offered a due process in sort of the public arena.
Well, you weren't. There's no question. You were found guilty by the court of public opinion, which happens so often to people in all different ways, some trivial, some serious. But I also believe just in fairness. You know, you were taken through the court process in a criminal trial and a civil trial, and you were found not guilty. And when that happens to people, a sort of ongoing prosecution, because people just want to nail you, strikes me as not very fair.
Well, I think that we have experienced this before in our history, and certainly my industry has experienced.
Nah, man. I just like I just don't really, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't I just don't really care. You feel me? Like why the- like bro, if there was no fire where the smoke was coming from, then people wouldn't be on you like this. You know what I'm saying? Like if you didn't go about your life the way that you did, being all handsy and stuff, then why would people particularly just collectively believe it? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you got found not guilty, but like that's kind of like the word about Kevin Spacey. And again, at the end of the day, it's like like you're an actor. Like you can't beg the public to put you back where you were.
It before.
Like, sure, I'm sure he has personal problems, but everybody got personal problems.
And even though they promised they would never allow that to happen again, I'm talking now specifically about.
Has Me Too, we'll watch this and then we'll move on. Has Me Too gone too far? This is the segment we in here.
It's been a massive societal change, which many think has gone too far. Do you think the pendulum post Me Too, you were caught up in that first wave, that hysterical first wave that saw many people taken down, but do you think it's gone too far?
Well, I could say yes, and not just in my particular case. There have been others that I feel, they may have been inappropriate. They may have done something that they wish they hadn't done, but I didn't think that what it was, and maybe what they even admitted to, was so heinous that they should have lost their career or their ability to make their livelihood.
This is pretty boring. It's pretty boring at the end of the day. Like, okay, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like it'd be different if like one person came out and said something, but when it's just kind of like an open secret, then like whatever issues you had, like you're in the situation you in, it just is what it is. But that dude said, Me Too has gone too far. Okay, what is this? Grown woman Marjorie Taylor Greene becomes a sassy little sassafras after Paul Ryan calls her an entertainer and not a legislator. Ooh, that made her mad. Paul Ryan. Hold on, what's this? Oh, yeah, we got to go to X. Oh, she had a lot to say. Goodness. Hold on, let's see. Is there. Okay, this is something else. She said, I'm going to read the whole thing from X. She said, she said, Paul Ryan just said I'm an entertainer, not a legislator, after I forced a vote to vacate Speaker Johnson for fully funding Biden's agenda in a two-part omnibus, voting for spying on the American people with FISA, and funding the war in Ukraine instead of pursuing peace. Instead of pursing peace. Okay, she said instead of pursing peace, instead of funding peace. I guess Paul Ryan thinks funding full-term abortions. Yeah, because that's such a common thing, the full-term abortion. People love doing that. It's so much fun. Trans agenda on kids, Biden's DOJ, and the full Democrat agenda is serious Republican legislation. Then again, when he was speaker, he funded Planned Parenthood $500 million, didn't fund the border wall, couldn't repeal Obamacare. Funny that you bring that up. Funny that you bring up not being able to repeal Obamacare, because that was like one of the biggest things on Trump's campaign, was that he was going to repeal and replace Obamacare. Obviously the whole Republican Party was saying that for a long time, but so was Donald Trump. But again, funny that you only blame him. Funded sanctuary cities and passed the most expensive omnibus in history at the time. So that makes sense, she says. There we go. She's upset. She upset about it. She not feeling it. She ain't rocking with it. But he was right. She's an entertainer, not a legislator. That's 100%. That's 100% the truth. All right, what we got here? Woman faces 30-year prison sentence and $1 million fine for 8 ounces of bong water found in her car. A woman from Fargo, North Dakota was pulled over for speeding near Polk County, Minnesota. Is now facing a possible 30 years in prison sentence for felony charges for water found on the bottom of a cannabis bong. But an obscure relic of the war on drug paraphernalia was overlooked and was not included in the decriminalization bill, a provision in the state law that treats bong water. What? Bong water is usually found at the bottom of a smoking device used to cool the smoke. Yeah. Oh, God. This is so arbitrary. This is BS. On May 8th, Jessica Besky was pulled over for speeding. Deputies smelling marijuana searched her car and found the bong, a glass jar with a crystal substance, and paraphernalia. This led to what was the crystal substance? Was it meth? What was that? This led to Besky being charged with first-degree felony possession, which carries a penalty of up to 30 years in prison and a $1 million fine. God. Treating bong water as a controlled substance equates the water at the bottom of a smoking device as an illicit substance. This could lead to severe charges if the amount of water surpasses a certain limit. What? Oh my God. That limit is a 50-gram threshold for a first-degree felony. A felony. This is such BS. So in this case, the disposable water from the bong is being treated as if it were an amphetamine or heroin. The case refers back to a 2009 Minnesota Supreme Court ruling in State versus Peck, where bong water was deemed, oddly enough, a drug mixture. Yeah, because people drink bong water. Get the fuck out of here, man. Bong water is disgusting. You don't do anything with bong water but dump it out, and it smells horrible. Like, literally, no one does anything with bong water. If you tried to drink bong water, you would get so sick. This is so ridiculous. Although legislation in 2010 exempted bong water quantities under 4 ounces. Again, like what do you? Who cares? Be like, I keep my bong water. I never throw it out. Like, what the hell? These are like laws that were made by people who have never ever smoked before. Like, they don't do drugs at all, which is, totally fine if you don't do drugs. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just like, what is this? Like, what the hell is this? Like, no. And when I say don't do drugs, I mean, this is like people who have never had a sip of wine in their life. Like, that level of, I don't do drugs. Like, I don't have wine. I don't drink beer. I don't enjoy anything. Okay. Like, all I need to wake me up in the morning is prayer type of shit. But it's just like, what in the, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Oh, prosecutor with a reputation. There we go. And you see this and it's arbitrary, but there we go. This person's out to do stuff like this is what they do. Polk County prosecutor Scott Buller has remained silent on the specifics, but stated the criminal complaint filed in Miss Besky's case speaks for itself. He is known for leveraging stringent laws to maximize charges, once highlighting the use of a tax on illicit drugs to keep plea bargaining options open. Besky's charges include first-degree possession and a violation of the illicit drug tax law. This is absolutely ridiculous. What makes the situation concerning is that Minnesota has made significant advances in cannabis legislation since legislation in August of 2023. The House recently passed a bill to expedite the retail cannabis marketplace, legalizing homegrown cannabis and introducing social equity programs. Governor Waltz oversaw the expungement of nearly 58,000 misdemeanor cannabis convictions this past May. Well, if that's the case, then hopefully he puts his foot down and doesn't allow this to happen because this is ridiculous. This is this is absolutely ridiculous. Yes, exactly. Like, bro, bong water is terrible. You dump it down in the sink, and you better have that water running because if you don't, it's gonna smell. It's so gross. It is just gross. Okay, so what we got here? What we got? We got a mashup clip. CNN's Abby Phillip airs striking montage contrasting Fox News coverage of Trump under Biden verdicts.
Evening, I'm Abby Phillip in New York. Tonight, President Biden and his family are huddling together in Delaware after a jury convicted his surviving son on all 3 federal gun charges. It is the first time in American history that an immediate family member of a sitting U.S. president was convicted of a crime. Now, the moment, of course, creates the split screen of conservatives who just 12 days ago were slamming the rule of law, slamming the judge, the jury, and the verdict in Donald Trump's Manhattan trial. Some even claimed the conviction was the end of the Republicans as we know it. But tonight, they seem to be singing from a completely different tune.
This is a new era in America, and I think it goes against the ilk of who we are as Americans and our faith in the criminal justice system. In the end, this jury of ordinary people from Delaware were not intimidated by that family, and they recognized that this was a clear-cut case and that clearly no one's above the law.
This is a very political exercise, and you have to say that it accomplished what it set out to accomplish.
But I would say this about Judge Noreika. I think she ran a very fair courtroom. She ran a very fair trial.
I guess we all need, to shop at Banana Republic from now on? Because that's what it feels like. Yeah, a Banana Republic.
For years, the Bidens have been able to escape any legal accountability for their sleazy, corrupt conduct. But today, their luck ran out. At least Hunter's did.
Power is all they love. And they're willing to do anything to cling to it. They're willing to destroy the rule of law. The Republic has been wounded by weak lawyers and talentless political.
Obviously, this is the most unsurprising thing in history. Because, and let's be serious. MSNBC covers for the Democrats just the same way. So, it's just cable news television. That's all. That's really all that's up with that at the end of the day. Okay, what we got? We got Senator Elizabeth Warren with a proposal. Elizabeth Warren proposes jail time for private equity execs who loot hospitals. Senator Warren introduced a new bill that cracks down on private equity abuse in the healthcare sector. Okay, so it aims to rein in private equity misconduct in the healthcare industry, as many PE-backed private equity-backed medical businesses. As many PE-backed medical business have filed for bankruptcy in recent years. The proposed Corporate Crimes Against Healthcare Act would impose strict penalties, including jail time for private equity executives whose deals result in the death of a patient. A press release about the bill from Warren's office said that, quote, aggressive deal making in the healthcare sector poses grave risk to patient health as firms routinely load up portfolio companies with usurious debt, sell off valuable assets, and extract exorbitant dividends and fees. Warren announced the bill at St. Elizabeth's Medical Center in Boston, which belongs to the Steward Healthcare System. Steward, the nation's largest physician-owned hospital network, was once backed by Cerberus Capital Management and in May filed for bankruptcy. Warren said her bill would have prevented what happened with Steward from ever happening again. She added, when private equity gets hold of healthcare systems, it is literally a matter of life and death. So if you drive a hospital like Steward into bankruptcy, putting patients and communities at risk, you should face real consequences. I agree 100%. At least 17 medical business backed by private equities. Damn, they wrote this article horribly. By private equity filed for bankruptcy last year, according to the Private Equity Stakeholder Project. Under Warren's proposed bill, executives who loot healthcare businesses. Why do they write it like this? Who loot healthcare business? So it's businesses. It's not business. They've done this like every time. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a little annoying. Who loot healthcare businesses such as hospitals and nursing homes could face 6 years in prison if their looting results in a patient's death. The bill would also give the Department of Justice the power to claw back all executive compensation within a 10-year period before or after a healthcare business faces serious avoidable financial difficulties due to that looting. In response to the bill, Drew Maloney, CEO of the private equity trade group American Investment Council, told Wall Street Journal, private equity in Massachusetts helps develop cures, supports urgent care facilities, and improves access for patients. Senator Warren's bill is a purely political. Oh, yeah, it's just political because all y'all do is help. Nothing else. You know what I'm saying? You don't do anything else. All you do is help. It's just a political attack. There's nothing to see here whatsoever. Private equity doesn't hurt the healthcare system at all. Not at all. All right. Let's see what's up with this. This seems pretty cool right here. Definitely interesting. Micro robots made of algae carry chemo directly to lung tumors, improving cancer treatment. Very interesting. Tumors that travel to the lungs or lung metastases pose a formidable challenge in the realm of cancer treatment. Conventional chemotherapy often falls short because it's inefficient. It doesn't directly target the lungs and accumulate in a high enough concentration to kill tumors. My colleagues and I from the Wang Lab and Zhang Research Group at the University of California, San Diego, have spent the past 5 years developing biohybrid microrobots, tiny objects made of both natural and synthetic materials that can be used in medicine. In our newly published research, we made a green microalgae-based biohybrid microrobot that can deliver chemotherapy directly to the lung and treat lung metastases. Man, people are fucking brilliant. The things that we're capable of doing when we really put our minds to it, and when we come together and pool our resources. Like this is cool as fuck. Like the things that people have been able to figure out over time. And again, a lot of the inventions and ways of thinking that we had were invented multiple times throughout the world. So just like human ingenuity is incredibly impressive. It's amazing. Synthetic microrobots are typically made of rigid metallic or polymeric structures that are difficult to manufacture. They're unable to access certain organs and tissues, and they can be toxic to humans. Microalgae overcome these concerns. For one, a microalgae can move autonomously by using a hair-like appendage called flagella to propel themselves through organs such as the lungs. Hold on. Oh, it's gonna be 87 degrees tomorrow. I'm gonna have to get out there and go for a run tomorrow for sure. It's gonna be up there in 90 degrees or something like that. The cell membranes act as natural camouflage to enhance the microrobot's biocompatibility and prevent it from being attacked by the patient's immune system. Within the nanoparticles is a common type of chemotherapy drug called doxorubicin. We tested our algae-based microrobots in mice with lung metastases. By administering these algae-based microrobots through the trachea, we could transport the drug directly into the lungs and minimize side effects to other organs. Because one of the things about chemotherapy is it doesn't discriminate. It targets everything. Man, I like to get out there in the heat. I'm careful, you know what I'm saying? But it's just something about running when it's super hot outside. I don't know. It taps me in. You feel me? Like I stay hydrated, but I love it. I love it. Let's see. Nah, this shit is cool. Once in the lungs, our algae-based microrobot could swim and distribute the drug across lung tissue. It could also evade destruction by immune cells in the lungs, allowing the drug to be gradually released from the nanoparticles.
Tiny robots made from algae are swimming through the lung fluids of mice, delivering antibiotics straight to the bacteria that causes a deadly form of pneumonia. Nanoparticles loaded with medicine are attached to the microrobots, and it all enters the lungs.
They can actively swim in the body fluid, and they can really dig into the deep part of the tissue and then carry a large amount of these therapeutic payloads to the disease sites, and then very effectively kill the bacteria.
Zhang said the results of the experiment were dramatic. The mice treated with drugs in a conventional way died within days.
Treated by this unique formulation, all the testing animals survive. It's 100% survival rate.
Anyone who has swallowed an aspirin knows one very conventional way of delivering drugs. The medication is ingested and is carried throughout the body.
Directly you take the pill, it's all passive. The drug goes slowly by diffusion. By having dynamic active delivery, we are accelerating targeted delivery to the right location with accelerated delivery.
Joseph Wang's lab at UCSD offers many examples of microrobots designed to navigate the body's channels and cavities. The algae robot is organic and swims with its flagella. Another robot made from zinc reacts with gastric fluid and generates hydrogen gas, which propels it like a true rocket. Wang points out the algae robot is not attracted to the bacteria, but they move so effectively through the fluids of the lung that it greatly improves the dispersion of the drug. Wang has actually loaded microrobots into pills, including aspirin. The purpose of this research, of course, is not to treat mice, but humans. Zhang said the study of algae robots in the lungs is very innovative and experimental.
In this paper, we demonstrated the feasibility of the technology. And what I foresee is we need to do more study along the line to demonstrate the efficacy in large animal species.
That means clinical trials in humans are a long ways off. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Yeah, no, this is cool. Compare with free drug and static drug loaded nanoparticles that cannot move. Okay, we just read all of that and went over it in the video. But no, this is really cool. Again, like this, the things that human beings are capable of figuring out when we put our minds to it is really something. It really is. All right, now what's up with this? We got Fox News panel sounds alarm over Biden courting youth vote in bonkers segment about free beer, birth control, and dental dams.
Campaign's plan? Try to make him look cool. Biden is set to hold a second ritzy fundraiser with Obama, George Clooney, Julia Roberts, and Jimmy Kimmel in Los Angeles later this week. And Biden allies of the president are also launching a new super PAC aimed at the young voters. Won't pack down. It's hired millennials and Gen Z writers, producers, and directors to craft pro-Biden content to try and sell the 81-year-old to young voters. And a group of Democratic donors are reportedly trying out, just wait for this, new party style events to court young adults. They include free.
Isn't this like what everyone does when they campaign? Like this seems like very normal.
Free beer.
I guess what they're doing? They're giving free beer away at events because no one's ever done that before.
Manicures, birth control pills, and a sweepstakes to win a month's worth of rent.
Bingo.
But Bill Hemmer, what about just good policy?
Yeah, how about that?
You don't need to hand out free beer if you just craft good policy that helps all Americans. So do you think the shenanigan is going to work?
Well, they're trial balloons right now.
It's literally just this is what everyone does every
They're gonna see.
I mean, it's Fox News, but it's funny because it's like, really, y'all? Like, y'all probably could have done better than this, because Republicans do this too, because you should do this. I mean, if you're gonna have an event where you got a lot of people and you got money to spend on it, then you should, if you can, you should provide free something, free food, free drinks, like what's free beer. That's so terrible.
See whether or not over the next couple of months, whether or not they can get people to show up. All right. But here is the goal. Pennsylvania and Arizona is where they're starting it.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, they want to find 100,000 young voters. I'm assuming young is 35 and under, or is it 30 and under? Let's call it 30 and under, okay? If you get 100,000 people to vote in Pennsylvania who have never participated in politics before, you'll win that state.
Yeah.
It's that close. In Phoenix, they went around with a group for Vote for Abortion, handing out contraceptives, as you mentioned there. Biden's name was not central to this pitch.
Oh.
What is central to the pitch, however, was the student loan giveaway. And they just concluded that 4 in 10 Americans disapprove of that move. That's no bueno when you're trying to convince people to vote for you.
So to Bill's point, there's 45% they feel unharnessed voters. If one of your kids came home with birth control in one hand, a beer in the other, and a check for rent for a month and said, I'm going to vote for Biden, Mom, what does that say to you, and would you accept it?
But see, they're not coming home. They're having these events right next to early voting polling places.
That's right.
So they're going straight from the event to vote. And they're saying, go out and vote. They cannot say go vote for Biden, but they can say go out and vote. They're incredibly effective. They're preying on everything these kids are worried about. They're worried about their future.
They're preying on the things that people are concerned about.
They're giving them contraception. They're worried about their loans. They're giving them free rent. I mean, they're buying their votes, and it's not illegal. That's the scary thing. It's not.
No, the scary thing that's not illegal is all the corporate corruption that goes on. That's the real issue. It's not that politicians cater to things that people want, because that's like the whole thing of politics. That's like the whole thing. That's it. That's the entire thing. You know what I mean? Like there's not much more to it than that in terms of what it is conceptually.
Not illegal, and it's effective. And where are we? Where are we? I will tell you, we're not there. They're on Instagram. They're on Snapchat. They have the best producers in the country. The producers who make us cry, who make us feel like heroes, who make us sad, who make us happy. They make us feel emotion. They're now going out to these people on Instagram, on Snapchat. They're making the ads. They will make them vote.
So what you're saying is they are manipulating these young people through their addictions.
Absolutely.
You know, this sounds like the list. I don't know if Dental Dams was on this one, but this sounds like the protesters list over at Columbia University and all these swank East Coast schools that were, trafficking in anti-Israel and Jewish hate.
Okay. We'll just cut it off there. But look, thank y'all everybody for tuning in who did, because again, we had a late stream today, but we went on ahead and did it. We still had a good time. I am preparing for the next mental health episode. The next one is going to be an introduction into basically how people approach, thought about, and dealt with, like people who were schizophrenic hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. So we're going to be talking about that. It should be really interesting. Just like the stigmas, the taboos that people had, just what people thought about it, and how we've reacted to it when, the further back in time you go. So we're not, this won't be like 1700. It's going to be like a long time ago. And I'm going to be looking, for just as much information as I can. I think it'll be definitely a good discussion. But y'all have a fantastic rest of the day, well, evening now. And I'll probably be streaming tomorrow. So I'll see you then. Thank you for everything.